Hey guys, I hope the week's been good and that you're getting ready to slow down a little bit today on Friday and tomorrow on Saturday. If you've been slowing down sort of all the time because you're locked down and can't get out the house, then I hope that if you've been distracted by a whole bunch of other stuff, you're getting ready to sort of, maybe trying to give some time to God and refocus on spiritual things, not get too caught on the news, too much online, too much on Netflix, whatever it might be. So let's go to the Lord and read the end of Psalm 50, which we had yesterday. But to the wicked person, God says, what right have you to recite my laws or take my covenant on your lips? You hate my instruction and cast my words behind you. When you see a thief, you join with him. You throw in your lot with adulterers. You use your mouth for evil and harness your tongue to deceit. You sit and testify against your brother and slander your own mother's son. When you did these things and I kept silent, you thought I was exactly like you. But now I arraign you and set my accusations before you. Consider this, you who forget God, or I will tear you to pieces with no one to rescue you. Those who sacrifice thank offerings honor me, and to the blameless I will show my salvation. Wow. So here in the last part of Psalm 50, what we have is the second thing that God rebukes his people with. If you remember at the beginning of Psalm 50, we found that we were talking about God bringing a council together, sort of bringing a courtroom together, and shockingly bringing his people to the courtroom first. Then he starts off by saying, those of you who think that building a relationship with me is about just doing good things, not so much. That doesn't work. The heart has got to be with the actions. And then here he says, now there's a bunch of people who are doing good things to cover up the bad things that they're doing. So people who are just outright living far away from God, not religious people trying to justify themselves, but unreligious people who are pretending, playing the game, but actually just doing terrible things themselves. And so those are the people he takes to task here. And as you can see, what he's doing is he's listing as well some of the key ones: adultery, theft, slander, and gossip. Now, I may be completely off here, and we may have a lot of people in my community may be adulterers and thieves, but from the way that I know you guys, I don't think we have that. But what we do have, and we can all be part of this, and I'll put myself there as well, is that gossip is probably the easiest one for a community and church communities around the world. It's the easiest one to get into. It's the easiest one that we're part of, and I think it's a reason it comes again and again and again in Scripture. It's because the one that so often is the place that we end up falling into is gossip. So he comes there and he brings it and he says, and if you're doing it and you think, oh, God was silent, he didn't do anything about it, he was, he wasn't around, it was okay, he says, don't. That's not what's happening. I'm waiting for you to turn around. And then the judgment comes. And the judgment in the Psalms, as it is in the New Testament, the judgment passages, they just seem so harsh. But remember that as believers in Jesus, they are harsh not only to describe what the justice that we actually deserve, but they're harsh because they're reminding us what Jesus took on our behalf. They're harsh because they're telling us this is what happened to him. This is what God took. This is what he suffered when he stood in your place. Remember that Jesus was scourged, he was speared, he was nailed, crowned with thorns. He was torn on your behalf. And I think that, and James tells us this in James chapter 2, I think that as we think through what he bore on our behalf, we cannot And scripture tells us, and tells me as a pastor, that you cannot accept that someone actually believes what Jesus has done for them and at the same time has an unchanged life and lives a life of unrepentant sin and couldn't care less. That's not a life of someone who follows God. If you really know what God has done for you, then your life has changed. And so Psalm 50 comes to us and says, hey, you're God's people, and so you're first up to stand before God and take account of what you've been doing and how you've been living your life. Secondly, don't rely on your good deeds. That's not where salvation comes from. And thirdly, Psalm 50 says, and those who do evil deeds, they're going to get the punishment that comes to them and that we all deserve. But Jesus stands in the place and takes all the punishment that the wicked so richly deserve, including us, and gives us a life so that we may be transformed, so that we may experience the salvation and not be blameless of our own right, but blameless by his grace. So I hope you guys are doing well, and that inspires you to look inside and to look to heaven, to look to God for that strength for the next day, and as you sort of take stock of the weekend. Tomorrow we're going to be having our service, our liturgy, and so we're going to do it on Saturdays, so that more people might be able to be available for that worship time. And I'm going to try and jig the PowerPoint, jig the liturgy, so that we can have a little bit of more time of prayer and sort of fellowship. And then later I'll be sending you, Arlene has written a song, sort of got the words of a hymn and played the song for us so that we can sing that at home if we like. Tomorrow we're going to be singing Great is Thy Faithfulness. So if you know the song, awesome. If you don't, have a look at the words, and we'll try and sing it together online on Zoom. And then finally, we had 2 meetings this week, both on Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. I'll try and be doing those next week. It might not always be me, but Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. we'll also be meeting on Zoom. So if you're available, show up. It'll be great to have you at those. And if things change, I'll not only say it in the videos, but I'll also text it out so that you guys have it written down as well. So God bless you guys, and I'll be recording the sermon soon and sending that to you. So God bless you. Bye.